Anywhere, right? Oh, perfect.
One of those. I see. Okay, cool. Let's get started. It's 7:05. I would give an intro to Christine, but she already has it up there. She's helped out so many of the members here in Sarah purchase their first investment properties. But on top of that, she's had about 2 decades of experience herself doing, real estate, helping transaction brokers, and pretty much teaching people, how to buy and work around in the Austin market. She's got a list of accomplishments, including managing 130 rental properties in the Austin MSA, and a list of acronyms that I'm not going to bother going through. And she's currently an Airbnb superhost, and she's also a restaurant kid. That was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a
we
restaurant
talked
kid.
about that. But yeah, so without further ado, Christine, please tell us, how do you find an agent that you can trust from out of state? And maybe tell us a little more about Austin, which is obviously very popular.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Hola from Austin. My name is Christine Chau. Like Nelson has said, I own my own real estate and property management company. A large focus is my investors, helping them earn money through this hot real estate appreciation market. Currently, like you said, I manage about 130 doors. I handle everything from the initial purchase to the leasing to the management. And then once they reach that goal, we'll unload it and then we'll move on to bigger projects. And then also, I do manage some Airbnbs. So why Austin? Austin's always been in the spotlight, guys. You know, we were always number one in almost every single category, right? Best place to live, raise a family, find a job, find a date, right? We're surrounded by lakes and rivers. If you love the outdoors, Austin's a place for you. Every year, we have our famous live music festivals. We have ACL, which I'm super excited because it's going to be live. We have South by Southwest. We have Formula One that I'm going to be attending this year. And with those festivals, it draws in millions of visitors from all over the world. Austin is filled by a highly skilled workforce. And of course, we have no state income tax. We have no rent control. And you can raise the rent as high as the market dictates. And so those are the few perks about investing in Austin. And then on your left side, I just put, just some fun events, some big fun events in Austin. All right. So as you can see in this map, we're surrounded by tech. Okay. We have all the big names. We have Apple, Facebook, Oracle, Samsung. We're known as the Silicon Hills. Austin is basically a new version of California's Silicon Valley. These tech companies are spread all over Austin, right? It's covered by the MSA, which covers 5 counties: Williamson, Bastrop, Cadwell, Hayes. And right now, the medium household income is about 68,500. The medium age is 33, which I'm surprised about. I just looked that up, right? So 33, these are youngsters. I mean, even though Nelson and Anna, you're like babies, right? But youngsters, I can say that because I'm like in my mid 40s.
33.
Anyways, okay. Okay. So, but yeah, what does that mean about this age group? It means that they're ready to buy. They're probably settled into their careers, right? And so we have a very great dynamic pool of people and stuff. Um, let's see, the home ownership rate is 45.2, and more than half of the people in Austin rents. So that's great for leasing, right? And for investings. The national unemployment rate is 6.9, but Austin's unemployment rate is 2.7. So if you are in Austin and you're not working, it's either you don't want to work or you physically can't work. Let's see this one. Oops. Oh, so many of my investors ask me what's the best to invest in, and my answer is depending on your risk and your budget. Right. I have some investors that tells me, Christine, I have to have cash flow, and then I have some investors that says I'm okay with a little bit negative because appreciation is really what I'm looking for. So if you're thinking about investing in Austin, it's definitely an appreciation play. You're gonna have very little cash flow, if anything. Actually, you're gonna have negative, right? So my top 5 city picks for Del Valley, I mean, my top 5 picks for the cities, if you're in a budget of around 350, is going to be Del Valley, Cedar Park, Pioneers Crossing, and New Braunfels. So these cities are not in Austin proper. Okay, they're about 45 minutes around the city. Best appreciation, of course, is going to be Austin, but you know that the the rate for appreciation Austin is going to be double digits, definitely, but you're definitely not going to cash flow, and you're probably going to have to put down 30 to 40% to cash flow. Okay, but if you have the budget for it, then I would definitely go that route. Um, right now, if you have cash or you have stocks that you can liquidate, cash is making a huge comeback. A few years ago, it didn't matter on cash, you know, right? Because, um, but now that we're seeing a lot of over list, 100, you know, 15, 20%, 30% over list, right? So if you can do cash, you do definitely have an edge in this market. So on this page, like, don't get caught up on this page. You know, I really put it together here. I have a lot of people that ask me, what are the, zip codes? What are the zip codes that you need to look at? And so I put this up here just to kind of give you a guide, address and zip codes of major employers to kind of easier for you to search. And then I need to update the Tesla too. So here is Austin is the craziest market I've ever seen, right? That, like I said, I've been in real estate for almost 20 years now, And here's a snapshot of the February stats. So if anyone is interested in getting these monthly stats for Austin, let me know and I'll send it to you. It's definitely provided by my wonderful Austin Board of Realtors that I serve as the director in. So there's 2 charts. One on the left, we're talking about the MSA. And again, we're talking, the MSA is encompass of the 5 counties, right? And then on the right side, you have the city of Austin. So if you look, the median price to have an Austin address, right, is about $100,000 difference. Okay. Both of them are, less than less than a month inventory. And then if you see, there was a slight dip on the sales, and that's because in the middle of February, we had that huge blizzard storm that kind of real estate kind of stopped for a couple of weeks, and then that kind of affected some of the numbers. But many people was without electricity, water. I mean, it was a crazy time. And luckily, my husband and I were in Vegas, and so we're like freaking out because what's going on. And I was like, I want to get home. And my husband and everyone was like, no, stay there. You don't want to come here. There's nothing here. It's freezing here. And so, but yeah, because of that, the numbers have kind of been a little bit lower. But Austin is just trending upwards, and there's a buying frenzy here. So remember when I said that in Austin, there's an appreciation play. So here, I just wanted to put up some of the few graphs, and I just picked out some neighborhoods, okay? This is going to be North Austin tech area where we have the famous domain that people are always talking about. Austin, the Apple is situated in the north part of Austin. In 2012, Apple had announced their big expansion, and immediately what happened? Property values went up, right? And then, so now if you purchase a house in this area, and it was 179,700 in 2011, and look at what it is now, 480, right? So you can get caught up on cash flow, maybe having a little bit of cash flow, or you can kind of focus on like the big picture, right? Which is going to be our appreciation. Another one is Cedar Park. In Cedar Park, same situation. Like I like Cedar Park. It's small. It's about 40 minutes from downtown. It's the booming part in the northwest part. We call it a little bit of Austin. It still has like a small town feeling. It has good schools like Leander, Round Rock, and it's home of the hockey league. It's like a hockey league, which I haven't gone to a game yet, but you can go there. Tesla. So Tesla has been the big buzz for a while, right? Because of Tesla, look at these values. Holy cow. And so Tesla is in an area where it's rural. Um, Schools aren't strong, crime is a little high, but you know what? The whole area is changing, right? And Tesla is going to bring in at minimum 5,000 new jobs. There's a new grocery store coming into this area. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's funny because, I'm in real estate and I could have bought new homes in this area and I want to kick myself because I just, there's like, honestly, there's nothing out there, right? But it's close to the airport and it's like 15 minutes from downtown. And that's what everybody wants to be, is downtown, right? Okay, so I put this goal up just to, if you're looking to invest in Austin, really, want you to think about your goals, right? Are you looking for cash flow? Are you looking for appreciation? I mean, it's definitely nice to be able to have both. But, I just wanted you to really kind of think about that and then really get your financing ready. I mean, we all have, I'm assuming we're all Asians, have good credit, right? But the thing about it now is that to get a pre-approval, it's not like back in the day where you have like an 800 credit score and then you got it, right? Or you send in one pay stub and you got it. But clients like myself, and I'm sure like many of y'all, you have many properties, and it takes time to go through the properties. You have to submit all your statements, your HOA, and so what I'm trying to tell you is that it's just not a real fast thing. Usually it takes, 2, 3 days to get that, to get real good pre-approval. So I really wanted y'all to make sure that, you go through that. And then also, properties in Austin, they move so fast. Like you really have to kind of commit to, if you want to buy something that, if I send you a list, you really need to move on it quickly because properties come on, a lot of properties come in Thursday and then everything is due on Sunday and Monday. And so if I send you lists and then you respond back to me a week later, well, they're all gone. And so we're gonna have to start the whole process again. So really want you to kind of, focus whenever you're buying property. And then, I always tell people that if you see a property that you want, I want you to fight for it because it's one, I send you a whole list and out of 10 properties, you probably won't like one. Or I send you 20, you only like one. And so, don't get married to any of the properties. Just put in a lot of offers and see what you can get. And then, have extra money for the appraisal because with this growth and with this buying frenzy, you're going to have appraisal shortages. And so, you're going to have to come up with that extra cash, right? And then the last part, just it's a long game, is going to be an appreciation play, like with those graphs I showed you. And so another thing is that I wanted to kind of give you an example that when I send you listings and it shows 300 or 285 or whatever, well, that's not the price that you're going to get it at. And so you're going to have to overbid, right? And so I gave you an example here that if you, let's just say the list price was 300,000 and we offer 25% over list. You might get that and you might not, just FYI. But let's just say we pray and then the appraisal covers, which it has before, okay? So what that means is that, well, if you're putting this 25% down, then to get this mortgage, all you need is 25,000, 75,000. But so the worst case scenario, and this is what I tell my clients, is that if it doesn't appraise, you're gonna have to come up with that difference, right? Or you're gonna have to cancel the contract. And so if it's 300,000 and you offer 25% less, well, you already know that you have a 75,000 down payment. But that shortage of 75,000, you need to make sure that you have the bank to cover that shortage. And so I think if you're a good agent, you need to really present that worst case scenario. You need to make sure that the clients have that money. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble. Okay. And then also closing costs, make sure you have enough money for closing costs. And then for me, for all my clients, because I have 3 crews to do all the make readies and everything, and we're trying to maximize on rents, I always ask people to go in and make sure that we really put a good product out there, paint, new flooring, new fixtures. And so I always like for y'all to kind of keep like a little budget for that, for the remodeling. Okay. So on here, I just wanted to give you like a quick year over year, just some scenarios for you to take a look at, right? So also medium home prices, I see as much as 25% and year over year appreciation. Okay. And so usually the buy and hold for a lot of my clients are like 5 to 7 years, just like commercial. Okay. So if you bought at 375, then and right now the appreciation for Austin, if I would say, was like 7 to 8% year over year. So we just used like a modest 5%. Look at it. 375 the first year, second year, 393. By the 6th year, it could be 478. I can't promise you anything, but that's what the trend is. And then on the bottom, we just looked at an 8% annual appreciation. Okay. If you're from out of town and, why not think about Airbnb? I manage like a few of them right now, and I tell you the numbers are amazing because taking advantage that we're around surrounded by lakes, take advantage that we have a lot of outdoors events. There's always music festivals everywhere, and so Airbnb is very strong. There are a lot of restrictions in Austin, and there's a lot of restrictions everywhere. But if you can find an HOA in some of the areas, um, Airbnb can really work. And then of course you have to follow the guideline. You have to do an application, and every little city has their own thing about that. You have to find the regulations. But yeah, think about doing Airbnbs. I think it's a good lucrative thing. Okay. So I hope I get to meet all of y'all. I hope I get to work with you, but really you need to find somebody that you're comfortable with. If you're investing, you're probably going to want to find a property manager. And if you can find somebody that's both, like me, right, it's easier, and it just makes everything a lot more seamless. And for me, I've been there. I'm an investor too. I bought my first investment. I remember how that feeling went. I have 7 now. I'm in a position where I'm thinking about 1031, unloading some of that stuff, right? So I understand that position. And then also recently, my husband was shopping around and we found a house that we like. And so I'm in the buying in this crazy market, right? And I had to go 52% over list to get this property. It took me 2 days, and this is my profession, right? It took me 2 days to really think about the strategy, how much to offer, do all my finances, moving things around, really kind of think about everything. I was like nervous, anxiety, we didn't wanted this property. And so I understand what you're going through, and I definitely will take very good care of y'all. So do you have any questions for me? That's it.
Well, for me, definitely. For a lot of you guys who know me, this is Annie, and I actually brought Christine over to do this presentation for us. And so kind of more personal is that I've met Christine about 3 years ago. And it was at that point, I was in California, Bay Area, and I was like not profiting on the house that I bought. And I was like, shoot, what am I gonna do? I know I had to sell it and go elsewhere. And so luckily I was able to meet her through an out-of-state seminar, and her presentation was the one that really got me sucked into Texas. So I know a lot of you guys are in the group right now. A lot of you are probably in areas that are really expensive and looking elsewhere to kind of grow your portfolio, since probably you can't really back and buy somewhere around your area. And I know there's a lot of fear involved for new investors, and it's pretty scary. So what I want to ask Christine is, for a new investor who might say, not necessarily that's in Texas, or they're interested in a certain location, what would you recommend them? How would you recommend them to get started with finding help in certain locations, say like Houston or San Antonio, and these people have never actually been there? How would you get them started?
Yeah, I mean, one, I would, to your friends, and you maybe, doing some research and just trying to find a local expert. If you can get like a referral, that's even better, right? But definitely interview a couple of people. And then if you have the capacity and if you have time, if you would come and visit the city too, and then meet up with that expert, and so they can show you around and show you some areas that's going to work for you. you know. And so for me, I do about 2 or 3 tours. Like I'm maxing out at 3. It's like kind of too much, to be honest with you. But I max out at 3, and then invite people all the time to come and meet me, and come and check out the city, because and many of them don't buy right away with these tours, right? It's like 1 or 2 years down the road. And so, but and I always tell people, you come in, do the airfare, get a hotel, and then I'll cover all your meals, entertainment, right? Because I want you to be able to really enjoy the city and everything. But yeah, I would recommend just getting some referrals and visiting the city if you could. But don't come by yourself. Like I've had I mean, I've had some clients where they come in for a month or 2 weeks or something, which is great, but I feel like that kind of kills a lot of time too, but if you can get an expert to kind of show you around, I think that would really help, because you see that in a different perspective.
And how much time do you feel that we would need to explore the area, say like in Austin, to check out all the territories? What's the time length you would recommend us coming for?
I would say like two full days, or 2.5 days. And again, it comes down to your budget, right? People are like, well, what's your best place? What do I have, right? And then again, it comes down to like how much money do you have, right? I mean, because there's so many different pockets. If you have $500,000, you're going to be in another area. If you in a typical 350, 300, then I would show you those pockets that would work for you. you know and I also have clients that start off at 300, and then they end up at 450. And so I tell them, hey, I always ask people, what's your max? And it's not because I want to max them out. It's because we spend so much time, 1 or 2 weeks of like looking at properties at 300, and we miss some really good opportunities maybe at 350 or 400, right? So kind of think about that too. And if you're flexible, I would let your agent know that too.
And how would you determine what's their pricing point? Because, for example, if I'm coming from San Francisco, I think every single thing is cheap in Austin. But
Yeah.
how do I know that's a good deal or that's right for us?
Right. So I think you're gonna have to trust your agent, right? You're gonna have to trust your agent that, like for me, if I'm gonna pick you up from the airport and you've bought something, I want you to be able to be proud of that property. Does that make sense? I don't want you to get off the property. I mean, come visit the property and say, "Oh my God, this is a dump. Like I made a mistake," right? But I think you're gonna have to really. I mean, you're gonna have to do your own homework too, for sure, right? Your agent is gonna say, check out Cedar Park, check out Deal Valley, check out whatever, and then you're gonna have to do your own due diligence on that too, and then ask some proper questions and making sure that those areas are rentable, and you're comfortable with that.
If you guys also want a third party opinion, I'm also an investor now in Austin. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I
uh,
mean, try to get opinions of people that live here or in the industry too, because you're gonna have all these like different opinions from your friends, from this and that, and people are always gonna talk about good news. They're not gonna talk about the ugly, the truth, or whatever, right?
oh no,
Because
I complain about cleaning up toilets all the time. I don't know if you follow my Instagram. It's just me about toilets, heroin tenants, just I complain about all the bad stuff. That's
yeah, no, for sure. No, trust me. When I go to listings, I had to clean their toilets too because it's freaking nasty, So I keep wipes. I don't know.
all right. So let's get through the questions. It's Andrew Chang said, sorry, what did you say were the top 5 cities for the 350K price range? Did you mention that earlier?
Sure. Yeah. So I like Cedar Park. I do, and Cedar Park is super hot, by the way. And so is Round Rock right now.
Cedar Park is, I think, the highest above asking percentage wise of any of the Austin cities right now. So
Crazy. My client, cash buyer, it was just a 300, but super clean. Like they can move in ready, right? We went 418 on a 300, and it was just a okay house. I mean, I hope he's not on here. I mean, it's but it's just 300. We had to go 418. And so
what's crazy is if you had just bought 4 months sooner, it would probably be like 50,000 less in Cedar Park right now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I bought in that area too. Because people don't know this, but Cedar Park has probably got the second best public high school in the Austin area.
Mhm.
And with more tech money coming in, those test scores are gonna get pushed up real quick with those kids of
Sure.
Apple engineers and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's why Cedar Park, Round Rock is hot, but you are going to have to compete for those, compete for that. I mean, I just lost the deal in Round Rock and it was like 325 and we went 400 and we didn't get it. You know what I mean? And then the house needed work. It's not like we still had to go change out all the floorings and paints and stuff. I also like Colorado Crossing. I do like Del Valley. I do like those areas. I do like New Braunfels too. And so New Braunfels, I manage about 3 homes over there. I manage about 2 duplexes over there, and it's just been booming. It's like caught my eye over there because it's still pretty affordable, like around in the low 300s. There's still some new homes over there. I didn't put this on my list, but even Bastrop, because they have some newer duplexes over there that I was competing for. And you know what? Still same thing, multiple offers. I wanted to buy 2 duplexes, offer 50,000 over list, because this is just Bastrop, right? This is like out going towards Houston. I didn't think it was going to be all crazy, right? The agent told me that I got it. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, the deadline was at 3 o'clock, right? She told me I got it. She told me I got it at 1. And then 6 o'clock came. I didn't hear anything. And I was like, oh, hell no. Guess what? I got beat. Right. So, I mean, yeah. So Bastrop would be a good one. The Braunfels.
How do you feel about San Marcos?
San Marcos has State University over there. Yeah, it's a little bit older. I think so. I think San Marcos is a good option.
All right. Okay. And Alex Chan asks, would a good realtor assist with the first time investors proper offer?
Say that again.
Sorry. Would a good realtor assist with the first time investor with like a proper offer? Like, would they help draft the offer? Right. And
right. You're right. Yeah, no, for sure. So with my investors, I really kind of guide them, right? So it's funny, I got a referral from another agent that came to me and she wanted to put an offer on this property and it's really, really nice. And she goes, oh, Christine, I heard it's crazy in Austin. And she goes, yeah, I want to offer 50,000 over. And I was like, no, you're not going to get it. And she's like, what? I said, no, you're not going to get it. And and I felt kind of bad because she was like I've never met her, never really, because she was a referral, right? And I told her, you're not going to get it. And she was like, well, that's one I want to put in. I was like, okay, you're not going to get it. And so I gave a verbal to the agent. The agent said, yeah, we have stuff much higher. And so she went up like another 25,000. I said, we can try that, but you're not going to get it. And so, of course, I write it up, right? I write it up and everything, and we didn't get it. So it went over 120. Yeah. So, yep. So yes, I will. I mean, not only will we'll do the market analysis with it, right? We'll do the comps on there. We'll do the lease comps. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can show you so much data on the lease comps, but it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense. So we're going to have to do that appraisal waiver. And we're going to have to really talk about your finances, about how, like, do you have the money to cover that delta, right? And if you do, let's move forward. If not, then we just have to pass on to another property.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So next one. Joseph Chan asks, what are your thoughts on Austin versus Houston? Pros, cons?
Not saying I'm biased, but Austin is the most expensive city, but we're also the best appreciation. But we suck on cash flow, right? So if you want cash flow, Houston will have it. Houston will have it. Dallas will have it. But any day, I would buy a property over appreciation than cash flow, right? But it also depends on your situation, right? When my husband and I started investing, we couldn't we couldn't afford appreciation. Like, we have to have cash flow. And then we bought another one and it was the same situation. I mean, we didn't really do appreciation, and we have 7. We really didn't consider appreciation till really our 4th property. And so, because we're trying to build, that nest, right, to buy more and more. And so, but yeah, and also Houston has floods, right? So you have to be careful a little bit about that too. You have to figure out making sure that it's not flooded.
Austin has flood zones too, though. Hold on.
Austin has flood zone, but not majority of Austin. A lot of Houston has a lot of floods. So
yeah, that's one of the things
it does have cash flow. It does have cash flow. So
That's the only thing that actually drew me away from North Austin. I kept trying to find properties that weren't just in the flood zone area. And that was kind of like the ones next to the domain. Domain's like
Yeah.
enough west, but everything else like just a little east of that,
Yeah.
flood zones. So
Yeah. No, I hear you.
all right, Sam K, what are your thoughts on buying properties sight unseen?
Very common. Very super duper common. In fact, um, properties come on Thursday, they're gone Sunday and Monday. I'll give you a list, and I'll be honest with you, I don't see most of them. Even as an agent, number one, because I'm sending you the numbers, right? There's no emotional tie to it, right? You kind of look at it, looks good. You're not going to have time to look at all 10 because these lines wrap around the houses. Okay, number one. And number two, it takes time to do all those numbers too. And so most of my properties is I put offers in that I don't even see them. And so what I say is that it's going to be a risk in the fact that you have to just get under contract. You get it under contract, you worry about it later. Meaning, you get it under contract, you're gonna have maybe a 4-day option period where you can back out for any reason. You're gonna pay, say, $500 for that option, and then during that time, you can do your due diligence and then go in and do inspections, and then we can negotiate inspections. If it doesn't work out, then you're gonna back out. So it's gonna be a little bit of an expensive play because you're gonna lose your 500, but if you continue with the house, you don't lose that money. So you lose your 500, you lose your inspection, but it's very common to
Yep.
sight and see.
For people who didn't know, I also learned this when I was buying in Texas, is that Austin has an option fee, which is like, your earnest money, like that'll come back usually if you screw up. The option fee you don't get back. It's a fee you pay. So like,
Yeah.
I didn't
Because you
realize
pay
that
for
was
that
a thing.
option. You pay for that option to back out for any reason. It's really
Right.
meant for inspections, right? But really, let's just say you change your mind, or maybe we put in 2 offers and you can't decide which one you want to go with, and then you get it canceled, and then but your earnest money is protected. Yeah.
Like in Chicago, that was not the case. There's no option fee. You just have like a 7-day option period. You don't have to pay
Oh, we
more.
don't have
You
to pay anything?
get money back. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's why
Well,
I was like, yeah, I'm surprised
yeah.
because I guess Austin's hot, so
Well,
sell.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if in a regular Austin market, you can probably do a 7-day option, and then it used to be only like $200 or like 150. It was like nominal. But because it's so hot right now, I mean, we have people that are offering thousands of dollars for option period to try to make it strong, right? Because that money goes to the seller, it doesn't go to the title company. And so I guess if you give them $1,000 option, they get to keep it if you don't continue. But I think I see a lot of those high option is when their offer is not as strong. I don't know. I might be wrong. I don't know. I mean, on my house, I offer 1,000
Mm.
for 4 days. I mean, for 3 days. But
Uh,
just
yeah, the one I heard was my roommate put in a very high option fee because she was buying like a luxury home, but like the issue is like when she bought the home, she had a newer agent that told her usually it's like 0.1% of like one, or it was like 1% of 1% or something. Right? There's like some number that y'all usually go for when it comes
for
to
earnest money.
yeah, for
Earnest
earnest
option.
option fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she went with what the agent said, and as a result, she paid a lot higher for the option fee than like the 500,
How much did
which,
she pay?
huh?
How much did she pay?
It was over 1,000,
Oh,
like
okay, yeah.
like a
Well, I mean,
bit.
if it's $1 million, if it's a higher end property, then it kind of you have to have that option kind of makes sense. Does that make sense? I mean, if you're like bidding on $2 million or $1 million, you can offer 500, 300. I mean, you could, but it kind of matches with the property too.
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, minimum I always do 500.
Yeah, got it. Jeff Huang asks, "Hi, Christine. If I'm a
Oh,
first
wait, no, a little too fast. Let me go back to that question. I have some comments on that because there's a lot of investors who are not just considering Austin, but other markets. So going back to Sam's question on what are your thoughts on buying properties sight unseen? So I know there's a lot of investors, the first time that they're thinking of buying elsewhere, you can't physically go and visit like the way you do at open houses. And what I want to let you know is that depending on the market, like if you actually have the time to do the visits, like you don't actually have to be there. But what I've done with with my realtors was that we just meet on FaceTime,
Yeah.
and they'll show me what the house looks like. So just to tell you, it exists. And honestly, like even you're not gonna actually go fly there to see it. There's just not enough time for that. In pretty much any of the markets, or really getting to know like who's selling and asking all of those questions. But other than doing the FaceTime, what you want to focus on is that, you can still make that option, or in a little bit slower markets, like say Austin and Dallas, what we've done is that you can still do an inspection. And when the inspection comes back, then you can still make your decision whether you want to turn off, like, get out that option contract. Because to be honest, even if you're there physically, I'm pretty sure if you're not a contractor, or you don't do enough with real estate, you don't know what's wrong with the building. So sometimes you just really can't trust only your eyes. But there's the appraisal reports that you're going to get. There's going to be the inspection reports that you're going to get, so that even if you made your offer first and you end up figuring out you made a really bad decision, your realtors they'll know how to get you out of it. So don't be as scared or intimidating about not actually personally seeing the properties before putting an offer or buying it.
Yeah.
Right. And
I
that's why
apologize. Yeah, you're right. I do FaceTime all the time. I didn't mean to say that I'm not going to do that. I mean, if we have the time, and I definitely will do that. So sorry. Thank you, Annie, for that. Yeah.
I will say you should at least fly out and visit the neighborhood before you decide, because the neighborhood is something you can see, but usually as a first-time home buyer especially, you're not going to be skilled enough to pick up the issues with the house anyways. And that's what the 30-day contract period is usually for. It's to protect these first-time home buyers through professionals like inspectors, real estate agents, and other people in the middle who are supposed to make sure you don't make a horrible, multi-$100,000 decision.
Right. And then during your 2 days while you're visiting that city, what you should do is you should check out the different neighborhoods, but at the same time, keeping note in the mind of what's the price range you're looking at in certain areas. So you actually have like a baseline of what things cost. And the more properties you see them, and the more research you do on like Redfin or Zillow, you kind of mentally have an idea of like what you like, what is worth it to you. So when you go home, continue keeping track of what you see on Zillow and Realtor and all those. And then whenever your realtor will send you a really good deal, you already have a comparison of did you like it or not, or which certain areas it was in. And then it helps you a lot to make a quicker decision, because you kind of have in the back of your mind, like, I think I know this area should be worth kind of around this much, or the bidding should be around this much in the area. So keep track of not just the listing price though, but you want to keep track of what's the sold price in those areas.
Sure. But there's no good deals in Austin. I'm just telling you that right now.
That's true. That's true, but it's not specifically Austin specific, but
Right.
it could
Yeah,
be for
right.
other areas as well.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hi, Christine.
Mhm.
Jeff Huang asked, if I'm a first-time home buyer, is there anything I should try to take advantage of in terms of financing when purchasing a home as an investment? In which case, I actually know this. Bank of America was giving like $17,000 as a grant for first-time home buyers in low-income areas in the Austin area. So it can go towards either your down payment or apparently rehab. So that's one thing that I know, but I think Christine probably know better.
How long is that process? Is that like 45 days or 60?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just heard about it recently, so.
Right. No, I hear ya. So, yeah, usually with those first time home buyer programs and stuff, they take a long time. It's not like the typical 30 days. So you're really gonna have to apply and really get your documents in a row, because if you don't put a 30-day close or less, you're not gonna win the offers. Does that make sense? And so, but then also there are many communities in Austin where if you make a certain income limit, then you can qualify for some of the homes and stuff too. And so, and the homes look great. They don't look anything less like in the neighborhood or anything. It's just part of a project. There's some projects around town that you can qualify for. Mhm.
All right, Andrew Chang asks, may I ask what you charge for your property management fees? And with the real estate market being super hot, what are your thoughts on the mortgage forbearance and possible foreclosures made by Q4 2021 that may bring down the housing prices a bit? I can actually respond to the last part. If you look
Yeah.
at the historical record, Austin didn't get hurt that much by the 2008, 2009 recession. So imagine, like a normal recession where it's not caused by the housing market. how Austin would probably weather that. That'll give you a better idea if you're looking at historical records for
Okay.
stuff like this.
Right, you're right. You're correct, Nelson. So we didn't go through like a really like a recession like the rest of the world, but I can tell you, even myself, I mean, we've had this strong appreciation. We're even locals were like, when is it gonna stop? And so everyone's like, it gotta stop soon. There's just no way. And then COVID hits, and then it went crazy. And then it was just now there's a freaking buying frenzy. And then Oracle said their headquarters are coming here. And then Samsung now said they're expanding their $1 billion you know area and stuff. And so there's just so much expansion, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. And so there's a lot of people, including myself, that want to do 1031 money and really scoop up and try to find the time when it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. For the rest of this year, we're still going to have that buying frenzy. Next year, I think it's going to get better, but by that time everything's gone up 20% or whatever it is, and then you might get closer to list price next year instead of doing these overbidding and everything. But I mean, Austin's still gonna be very strong. So I don't see it slowing down anytime soon at all.
All right, Erica asks, Christine, why would Airbnb properties require a lower down payment? Do you need to declare that to the lender when you're trying to get a mortgage pre-approval? I think this might have been a misunderstanding, but
Yeah, I know. My apologies. No, I'm just thinking, if you're from out of state and everything, you can probably do a second home, and then a second home is 10%. And so that's what I mean. And then if you do the Airbnb, then I'm assuming maybe you'll come visit and stay in the home 15 days out of the year, and have it truly as a second home. And then if you happen to Airbnb in the future, then that's what happens. And so 10% on investment properties.
second home is
I
second
mean,
home.
second homes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Second home loans is if you have a primary that's at least, I think, 15 miles away from the original home, you're allowed to get another home FHA mortgage. So you only have to put down 3.5%, just to clarify what Christine was saying.
But FHA, don't you have to? You can't sign appraisal waivers, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard with Austin because you if you don't sign that appraisal waiver, it's gonna be hard for you to get that contract. I just want to be very transparent, and not let y'all waste any time. But yeah. Mhm.
That's right. Going back to the FHA question, was that in certain markets where it's really hot, it's just not great to use it because, again, FHA loan and also the VA loans, these take a lot more time to process. And when the seller is just getting so many offers, they're not going to pick you because of the length that it takes. And the second one is because in the FHA loan, there's a lot of fees that the seller is going to have to pay for, and also fixes. Like, it has to meet certain requirements and they can't get the buyer to pay for that. And so because of these reasons, like, it just sometimes doesn't make sense for a seller to choose an FHA loan. So watch out for those, guys.
Yeah, it's a very tough market and for buyers right now, to be honest with you, because you're gonna have somebody with FHA, you have a little bit lower down payment, and then with VA, you don't have a lot of times you don't have to have a payment at all. But when you have even two offers, and one's FHA that has 10% down, I mean $10,000 down, and you have another one that's putting $50,000 down. I mean, which one are you gonna choose? And so it's super tough right now. Hopefully next year is gonna get better.
It sounds like properties are consistently closing at double digits over asking.
Yeah.
Why aren't the new listing prices reflecting something closer to what the closing prices should be?
Oh, you mean if it was 300, and then if in the middle of the negotiation it goes to 350, how come they don't adjust that price? Is that what?
No, I think what he's saying is like, all right, I'm buying a property this week for 300,000, but we find out that the winning price is 350,000.
Okay.
So why do people not just list at 350,000 next? Why are they still listing at 300,000? To which I
Uh,
can, they
gotcha.
are adjusting prices already. It's just that they can't catch up because it takes 30 days for the closing price to be officially shown to the rest of the, so it's like a
Gotcha.
30-day lag.
Right. So if you're a good, I mean, if you're an agent and I would just do it at market, right? And what market, not, I'm sorry, not market, what sold comps, because that's what appraisers go by. So for example, right, for that house, if everything recently sold for 300, then you're going to list at 300, right? Yeah, you wouldn't probably list at 350 because then people think it's overpriced. But because right now it's just better to put it at market and let the market do its thing, which is there's a buying frenzy. There's 10 people offering this price and this, so it's just going to drive that price up. Does that make sense? And so you can start with higher and stuff, but then I mean it's just no telling. I mean, whatever the sales, whatever the comp says, doesn't mean that that's what it's going to sold at. So
How do you balance between winning and overpaying, essentially? What's like a price that you think would be too high, for example, when you told your client to pull out?
yeah, so we were just talking about this. I've closed, since I guess January, probably like 20 deals, and two of them I mean, not two of them, one of them, out of everything, out of all the list price, and usually my clients are pretty strong, they're asking, one of them was short by 120,000. And at that point, it was like 270. And right now you can't buy anything at 270. We had ours at 385, and it was just a very small pocket where just two streets down there was a lot of comps, and the appraiser wouldn't use those very close comps, and so they were just using at that very specific subdivision, and at that subdivision nothing was sold. And so everything was sold was like last year, but last year is different from this year. And so I just advised my client, let's just, because he was trying to buy two properties at the same time, and that would just suck up all his down payment. And so we just canceled it and we lost the earnest money. So he lost about $5,000 off that deal. But, we're looking at two other properties, and that was because his goal was to buy two. And so, yeah, so we canceled on that one.
Would a property manager assist with finding renters? If so, what is the average property manager fee?
Yeah, so we're not really supposed to discuss fees because it's like they talk about like price fixing and everything. But my brokerage charge, we charge 8%. And I try to keep it a little bit low because most of my clients, I manage like 2, 3 of their properties. And so, but yeah, if you have a good property manager, they should be able to, manage it and then, find you a really great tenant too.
What are your thoughts on Pflugerville, Killeen, and Buda?
Okay. I'm a South Austin girl. And so South Austin, which is, I guess, south of the river, have higher rents. Okay. So, and then the prices are more expensive. And so I like Buda, it's still pretty affordable. I mean, there are some, I guess it's like 350, 400 right now. Right. And the rents are pretty good. Colleen, I don't know. I'm still, I got a chance to get into that market about 7 years ago. And I didn't, for me, it was just my personally, I didn't like it too much. But if you want to talk about cash flow, holy cow, that's a great, great property. I mean, you can get a fourplex and, get well over 1%. And so, and rents well over 1%. But a lot of it to me was a little bit run down. And I felt like it's a military town, a little bit harder to manage. And so we didn't get into that property. But that's just my personal, opinion on that. And then Pflugerville is good too. Pflugerville is close to Round Rock, which is close to Dell. And Pflugerville's been a little bit slower in appreciation, I feel like. But now the Amazon, their distribution is going to be very close to there. It's going to be better on appreciation. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And next question is from Steve Tran. What are some resources to utilize to keep up to date with rent control to adjust prices accordingly?
Okay, no rent control. And so I think with a good property manager, they need to be able to analyze and send you lease comps every single year. And so, sometimes you find a property like two duplexes and one rent is $1,000, another rent is $1,400. Well, that's because that $1,000 rent is probably self-managed and they don't have access to the MLS and the resources to find the lease comps. And so, yeah, your property manager should, or even your agent should be able to give you some good rent comps and kind of advise you. So for me, I always go $50 to $75 over the highest one, because all my properties we put a good product out there. It smells good. Their paint, the flooring. And so,
All right. I think, we got one more question. With the Austin market appreciating so much, is a single family home a better investment than, say, multifamily, duplex or triplex?
I like to buy duplexes for cash flow, but you're seeing a family home is going to appreciate a little bit more. And the thing about Austin is that we don't have newer duplexes like multifamily. They're all like 70s, 80s. Maybe you'd be lucky for some 90s or early 2000s, but they tend to be older and they tend to have a lot more maintenance. But if you're looking for cash flow, definitely multifamily is the way to go. But if you had to choose between the two, then I have some people that love duplexes, like my family, and I have some people that just majority of the people like to do single family homes.
I would also argue multifamily is also appreciating like crazy. We put a bid on a 168 unit recently in the Austin area, and we lost the bid by someone went 25% above asking on essentially a $20 million apartment complex. So like
Wow.
the exact same in the multifamily market. It's not any different. I tracked it too because the average appreciation rate in Austin's 5-6%, right, across the board. That's also how much rent went up by. So if you track multifamily, rent usually correlates to how much the price of the property is going to be worth in the future, assuming your cap rate stays the same. So multifamily is actually grown at the same rate. Like usually general knowledge is like multifamily and single family compared wise, like, the single family homes always go up faster, but not in Austin. That's pretty much all I've seen so far.
Buy duplexes for 200,000. Luckily, I bought a couple of those, and so now they're like 500,000. So I'm like, cool, And now it's like you want to buy a duplex, it's like 450, 500.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah. So
And
So
better.
Lucas, one question for you is, so since this group is all mostly on investors, I'm curious to know, how have things been looking like since COVID and with the eviction moratoriums going on? Have your clients had to change their strategies on investing in your area? And any issues you've seen up with your renters?
Yeah, I mean, when that happened, I remember I think ours in April 1st, and so that's coming up unless it gets extended again, But April 1st, I mean, right now, with the property management side, we are really strict on our qualifications and everything, and making sure that people have their jobs, a stable job, and then we decline a lot more applications these days, And so I think it comes down to really your processes and really looking into just not settling for tenants. I mean, for bad applicants, because there's so much. Leasing is so hot in Austin right now.
With finding renters, has it been difficult with eviction moratorium going on, or are people still just staying put in their own homes and like trying not to move?
No, I mean, leasing is super hot with all the people coming in and with all the new jobs opportunities and stuff. I mean, leasing is super hot. I mean, if the thing about if they can't buy a house, not because you think that bad credit. No, that's not true, because they can't win or they're frustrated. They have to put the kids in school, whatever it is. They need to find a location, and so people rent. I mean, like I said, over 50%, 54% of people rent in Austin, and that's just a temporary thing. And so you're not gonna have problems finding renters in Austin at all. Mhm.
I noticed a lot of the group that a lot of them have not invested in Texas before, so they might not be very familiar with if Texas or Austin is in a tenant friendly state or landlord friendly. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why it's a great choice to invest in Texas?
Sure. So again, we don't have rent control. I would say it's pretty easy to evict in Texas or in Austin. You can send them a vacate to notice, in 3 days, right? 3 days notice to vacate if they're not paying rent. Why are you do that? Probably not. You're right. I mean, if you want to go through the eviction process, you could, but if you evict someone for non-payment of rent, and then next month they show up with their rent, right? The rents, then the judge gonna let them stay. And so most of the time, I always let them pass 2 months of not paying rent, and then you can kind of tell if you're kind of working with them or not working with them, if it's gonna work out or not. But yeah, I mean, I think it's easier to evict people. I mean, I don't know if this memorandum is gonna extend or not, but um, you know, most of the time, if you have a good property manager, you can kind of work out a deal with them. You know, just please leave the property. And try to make it work with them. So, or take partial payments and stuff.
And then, so I also, there's a lot of Bay Area folks, and Bay Area people think, oh, houses will go skyrocket, in the Bay Area because there's not much land for development. But in Texas, it's a lot different. You guys have a lot more land, and there's new development growing up. So do you feel that you're going to see the same pricing level, like how it skyrockets in the Bay Area, because since we're pretty similar in a lot of characteristics? Or do you see that eventually the new developments are going to hit some kind of, like, there's enough to meet everyone's demand?
No, I mean, right now with the building, I mean, right now with new homes, it's only you can't buy new homes right now. It's not open to investors at all. And in fact, right now, because of our lumber shortage and material shortage, I mean, they're only releasing 2-3 homes a month. And then out of those 2-3 homes, a lot of them, there's a bidding war for new homes. It's like ridiculous, right? And so you're seeing a shortage across the board with new homes. And right now with our land development code, I mean, we're trying to see if we can try to soften up some of those restrictions, because all this permitting, I mean, we're so behind. We're just not ready for this growth. We don't have the infrastructure for it. And so everything's been taking a lot longer, and building permits and everything. And so but yeah, we're trying to get better soon, but right now it's still very competitive with the new home and developments right now.
I can also jump in on this. So one of the reasons why people say supply is constrained in San Francisco is because of pretty much really terrible single family home zoning laws,
Right.
which, believe it or not, Austin has the exact same sort of NIMBYism.
Yeah.
So that, my friend's dad is like a pretty big developer in town. He said pretty much you're only allowed to build on 2 major streets in downtown. So once you run out of that, everything else is just single family homes. Everyone wants a backyard. So as a result, you're kind of locking people out because you want to put a home on an acre of land which could fit technically 4 people, right?
Yeah.
Instead, you're just doing it because one person really wants a large backyard, which is like part of that Austin,
Yeah.
Austin like lovely memory fondness.
Right.
So geographically, it's not as locked as San Francisco is, but it technically is blocked off on, for example, the left is West Lake area, which is like the richest people, and they have even worse zoning than everywhere else in Austin. Like
Yeah.
you need a minimum of like 50% trees on your lot in order to build a home.
Yeah. Well, Westlake is his own city, right?
Westlake is its own city, yeah.
They,
So
they,
like
they do whatever they want to do.
think Marin County. That's basically what Westlake is.
Yeah.
But essentially the entire west side of Austin is taken up by Westlake. And then on the north side, it's starting to already get pushed up, right?
Right.
So in California, we're used to driving that 1 hour in traffic. That's fine for us. But in Texas, no one wants to drive more than 15 minutes. Anything over 15 minutes is considered too far in Austin.
Yeah.
So like if you're driving and like coming in from the north, Cedar Park is like a 30-minute drive to downtown already.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's considered too far.
Yeah.
You're trying to drive there.
Right.
So that's pretty much leaves the south side and the east side. So the south side is already getting priced out as well. There's a lot of traffic in there. Christine knows because she's on the south side a lot. So all that leaves is the east side, which actually right now is pretty much the least developed of all those areas, which is probably why Tesla went there.
Mhm.
It's next to some major highways, and there hasn't been a lot of building because historically it was kind of red zoned. The 35 highway, the east side, was originally set up to keep out pretty much minorities for a long time. And only recently it's been exploding because people have been getting priced out of the downtown area. right? That Austin core. So uh, like if you look at the geography, the east side has more room to grow, but everywhere else is pretty much locked by land and by land laws that the city has voted for over and over again, which I don't think will change anytime soon, because if you can't change in San Francisco, imagine trying to do it again in Austin.
Right. Right. I agree.
All right. I think that's it for the questions, and we're right on time, a full hour. Is
Hey.
that right, Christine? I told you. You only talked for like 10, 15 minutes of the presentation, and there's
I
just
know,
gonna
I
be a
was
lot of
skipping
questions.
through everything. I was like, I want questions.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Super helpful. I think if y'all want to ping Christine, her information's here, of course, and we're gonna leave the recording up. We had like 50 people show up, so it was pretty good.
Yay.
30, yeah. So it was pretty good. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your week, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, guys.